he was always very skeptical of my work, and he still is. And that's one thing that I do like to try and be open about, because I have a lot of clients, a lot of women are open to these kinds of spiritual kinds of things, and a lot of men are not. And I get a lot of women in my sphere who will say, well, I wish that I could do this, or I wish I could do that, but my husband is so against it. And I'm like, dude, my husband is against it. I get it. I really get it.
Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We wanted to learn from people who paved their own ways like we did. So we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we make new friends, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coast. My name is Whitney Popa, and I own a communications consultancy in Edmonds, Washington that is focused on words, workshops, and connections for your Pacific Northwest business, which is my new little tagline. It's really cute.
I like that. My name is Emily Given, and I own a virtual assistant agency in Lynnwood, Washington. We help business owners with their admin tasks so they could spend more time focusing on things that they love, both in and outside of work. And today we're talking to Allie Duzett, who is a teacher, speaker, author, and practitioner in the fields of health and wellness, energy medicine, and the science of medical intuition. She has a passion for exploring the power of human consciousness and self-awareness and offers a variety of programs and courses supporting personal development. She delights in helping others to massively expand their own intuition so they can heal themselves and their families on an emotional, physical, and spiritual level. Thank you so much for being here, Allie. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. I've been so happy this whole week looking forward to this.
Oh, awesome.
I've been looking forward to this for months and months. So, okay, backstory here. Previously, last June, I was on a reality show called The Blocks, and it's geared toward entrepreneurship. After that, I decided to get involved more so in the production side of things. So now I'm actually a casting director for The Blocks. So I met Allie on a casting call. I'll let you share that. But I met her on a casting call, and I quickly reached out to Cassie, who's kind of the lead casting director, and I said, am I allowed to connect with Allie on a personal level because I freaking love her? And she's like, go for it. So I'm like, I love you. I like bought one of her books immediately. Like I'm doing her coursework. Like I just am infatuated with you. And like, when you just click with someone right away, like that was me for you. And I don't know if it was the same for you, but I'm like, I love her. So anyway, that's our story about how we met.
Yes, well, I don't know. That was the best call that I've had probably all of last year. That's probably the only phone call I remember from last year. I was just like, oh, Emily. And, I said it before, but I love how you spell your name. And I just thought, I always remember you with your name. And
yeah,
I just IE.
Yeah, we are both IE.
It's true.
So, Allie, tell us more in your own words about what you do.
Yeah, well, it all kind of started 10 years ago exactly this month. So, my older brother was severely and multiply disabled, and one of his conditions was that he was unable to sleep. And towards the end of his life, he was in a ton of pain all the time and he couldn't sleep. So, he was just kind of moaning and screaming around the clock. He was not verbal. And he was approved by hospice to have a massage therapist come and massage he had a contracture in his leg. And so this massage therapist would come and she wouldn't even touch him. She would just hover her hands over him and he would fall asleep, which he was clinically unable to do, like as part of his diagnosis. And I watched that and I said, oh my gosh, you have to teach me what you're doing. And what it was a form of hands-on healing touch. I think she was a Reiki practitioner, which I am not. But I made the hospice people train me on how to do it. And I found that I was very good at running energy through my hands, and that when I did, some crazy stuff would happen. The first time that I tried it on my mother, she had just tripped over a tree branch on the road or something, and her whole leg was bruised up, but she had a flight later that day and she was in so much pain she couldn't even walk because her whole leg from her hip to her ankle was black and blue. So I held my hands over her leg and did the techniques that I learned from hospice on my mother. And after 1 full hour, she could stand again and she could walk and she had no pain. And so I kind of started playing around with that, and that was really interesting. But the really crazy moment was on January the 1st of 2014. I literally woke up in the morning and had basically x-ray vision for people's health issues. And so everywhere that I went, it was like seeing these signs on people or these markings on their bodies where it would be like, oh, she has arthritis. I can tell because she has little black dots over her knuckles, you know? Or he has cancer. I can tell because of this like swirling black vortex over his abdomen. And everywhere that I went, I was just being inundated with this information. And it was really confusing for me because my degree is in soil chemistry. And my grandfather was a NASA scientist. We're like very science oriented in my family. And scientifically speaking, like nobody talks about being psychic in the scientific community. And then at the same time, I'm very religious. And, you know, as a Christian, I think there's a lot of stigma around quote unquote like psychic abilities and that kind of thing. And so I kind of found myself in this strange place where I thought, what I'm experiencing, like, I'm not sure it's okay religiously. I'm not sure it's okay scientifically. Like, I'm not even sure if it's possible religiously or scientifically, but it is my experience. And so I had to really dig into both the science of paranormal psychology and the spiritual side of paranormal psychology and kind of make it reconcile. So what I do now is I take that ability. For many years I just did one-on-one sessions and which are really great and very effective, but you're limited by time. And in 2020, well, of course, everybody lost their jobs and like we had that shutdown in March. And I thought, oh no, everybody's out of a job. How are they going to afford me? And also, they need my work more now than ever. And so, in April of 2020, I decided to experiment with group sessions that were available by donation. So people could literally pay what they could, and I would try to do a session for the whole group at the same time and see if it worked. And it did work, and it turned out to be extremely profitable as well, without breaking anybody's bank because everybody just chooses what they pay. So it turned out to be this big win-win. And since that time, I've really phased out of most personal sessions, and I do group sessions that once I record them, I put them up on my website and keep them available mostly by donation, infinitely. And so I have people always coming in and they're able to just look at the list of all the different things that I've done sessions for in the past. I'm continuously adding new sessions to the collection. And I love being able to make serious emotional and physical healing available to a lot of people who are disillusioned by the mainstream medical field, who can't afford perhaps mainstream medical attention or like hours and hours of therapy. They want a quick solution that's fast and effective and affordable and on demand. If they're feeling suicidal at 2 a.m, there's a session for that, and that one's free. So I have loved making this work so available, and for me, it has been an effective business model as well.
I
We
think
have
what's
so many
important,
questions,
yeah,
but go ahead.
I want to mention too that we know in our world, like Emily and I are both super spiritual, and I personally believe that God is in all of those things and science too. Like it's funny that we come up with all these rules to control ourselves and others through these other mechanisms, and then it becomes confusing when we have these gifts. And so I love that you worked through that and kind of investigated it for yourself to find where you're going. But what I also love is that you're going to help so many people through this episode, because we know so many people who are highly spiritual and run spiritual businesses and feel weird about the money aspect of it, how abundance and spirituality can come together when you're, and I think we're all in hospitality service-based businesses in some ways. So there's a little bit of a mental block in a lot of the women we know, especially ones who are working to monetize their healing journeys, which might not be the move for them, but still hearing from you that this is something that's possible to feel good about and offer at different levels and make it accessible for people and live comfortably so that you can do more of that work that helps people. There's a lot of blocks there. So I don't have a question. I just want to recognize that you're going to help a lot of people in sharing that part of what you're doing.
Thank you.
In the year that it took, like you learned the healing to when you woke up and you could see, did you ask for that gift or did it just randomly happen?
It literally randomly happened. But I write a lot about it in my book, Mastering Your Intuition,
Mm-hmm.
because looking back on it, I feel like I understand what happened a lot more than I did in the time.
Yeah.
Because in the moment, I was like, what? Like, what just happened to me? And now I look back and I see, I was doing these like hands-on healing techniques a lot, which is gonna break up my own energy and the person's energy that I'm working on. Like whenever you run energy like that, you're helping heal yourself and the other person. So I was like accidentally doing that. I started doing a lot of breath work by accident. What happened was I was so stressed all the time that I lived my life with my shoulders up here, and I didn't notice that that is not how my shoulders should be. And a couple months before my third eye opened, as I call it, or like my sight turned on, I looked in the mirror and realized my shoulders were up so high, and I took a deep breath and relaxed them. And as soon as I undid that, my shoulders went right back. And so from that time on, which was all at the same time, I thought, okay, I need to be taking deeper breaths. I need to be relaxing my body. And I didn't know that when you do that, you are actually clearing out a lot of emotional blockages. You're starting to heal up your mental processing. I had no idea. I thought I was relaxing my shoulders, which I was, but it also added up to be something also much bigger than what I thought. And then at the same time, I had been feeling like God was telling me I needed to be more feminine. And I really hated that a lot. I felt very resentful about it. But the night before my intuitive sight kind of turned on, it was, of course, New Year's Eve. And my New Year's resolution was that I was not going to fight God anymore on accepting my feminine side. And I knew that one of the core aspects was logic versus intuition. And I was afraid of stepping into intuition. I didn't even know what that meant. But I that night before God, I don't know what it is to move away from logic and be more intuitive. I don't even understand it. But I know that's what you're asking me to do, so here's the deal. I said, God, I will believe anything that you put into my mind, and I will do anything that you say as soon as you tell it to me, so you can never let me think something that is wrong. And then I went to bed and woke up that morning with this vision of somebody's entire energy field, and I could see where she had a big problem. It showed up as a black mass over her abdomen. And I knew it was like the voice of God was just saying, like, you have to go to this person's house and put your hands on her stomach and heal her. And I was like, what? And she didn't really know who I was. Like, it's like a neighbor that we've seen each other a few times. And I put it off for hours. It was New Year's Day. I was like, it's New Year's Day. It's a holiday. Nobody wants me over today. But I bravely went at 10 o'clock that morning. I felt like God was like, you promised me less than 12 hours ago that you would do anything that I said. Like, you have to do this right now. And so I did. I got up, I went, and it turned out that she did have a problem with her abdomen. And as far as I know, we took care of it. Like, it was taken care of that day, it was resolved. And so it was a very crazy experience. But from that single day, after that day, every single day was like that, where I'd like wake up and just know I have to be at this place at this time and like meet someone that I had to meet or like do something that I had to do. And it was just like every day after that. But I had to trust intuition over logic. And all the times that my logic brain would say, that's stupid, that doesn't make sense, she doesn't even know me, I would make up these little excuses and have to say, no, I just have to do what doesn't make sense. You just have to do the thing that doesn't make sense, you know? And that really changed everything.
That's so quotable.
What was that conversation? Yeah, what you go to her house, you knock on the door and you say, "Hey, Is your abdomen hurting?
So I called her and I was like, hey, I have something for you. Can I come drop it off? And she was like, okay. And I was like, well, it's not really something. As soon as I showed up, I was like, I don't really have anything for you. I just have a gift for you. And I kind of said, can I just, I'm supposed to run energy for you. Unfortunately, she had been to a Reiki person before, so she was familiar with the concept.
Oh,
So, because I think if she hadn't, that would have been extra, horrifying for me and possibly for her.
yeah,
But she was open to it, which was great. Like, I had no idea ahead of time that she would be open to it. So that
yeah.
was a real gift.
Oh, so much good stuff. Okay, you told me a story on our casting call about like how when this all started, you were really like confused and unsure, and you went and your like husband and religious leader like had something to say. Like I would, if you're open to sharing that, I would love for you to tell
Yes.
Whitney and everyone.
So my husband hates it when I talk about it, but hopefully he'll get over it. I don't think he'll listen to this podcast. But he was always very skeptical of my work, and he still is. And that's one thing that I do like to try and be open about, because I have a lot of clients, a lot of women are open to these kinds of spiritual kinds of things, and a lot of men are not. And I get a lot of women in my sphere who will say, well, I wish that I could do this or I wish I could do that, but my husband is so against it. And I'm like, dude, my husband is against it. I get it. I really get it. And we've come to a place where we have like a lot of love and mutual understanding. And he's not into my work, and that's fine. I don't work on him. I don't do sessions for him. He doesn't believe in anything that I do, and it's fine. And we still love each other. And I feel like this kind of work is not a good reason to have a wedge in a relationship. That's my personal feeling. I kind of feel like if you're so enlightened, I feel like a lot of wives feel like they're so enlightened and their husbands are not. But I'm like, if you're so enlightened, then you would understand that your husband's on his own journey and you just have to like hold space for that. Like, come on, man. But
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. I know
Facts.
it's really
Yeah.
easy to
That no, that's so true.
Yeah.
is my controversial opinion. But in
Yeah.
2017, I think, let me math it. I think it was 2017. So I am LDS. I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon church. And every twice a year, the prophet and 12 apostles like give a bunch of talks, and just about like following Jesus, like being a better person, that kind of thing. And in this fateful conference, one of the 12 apostles said that everybody should avoid basically like quack doctors and forms of like when people promise miraculous healing but it's like not real or something like that basically. And so everyone was like energy medicine, which was funny because for me, I work with so many people who have been let down by the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm sitting there like, that's a huge indictment of the pharmaceutical industry, like making these promises, if you take this pill, if you take this shot, then you won't have this problem, but you do, and it gives you other problems. Like I was reading that like, what an indictment of mainstream medicine, and everyone else was like, what an indictment of alternative medicine. So after that, my husband was he was like, you need to repent, like you cannot do this work, you need to shut down your business. And I prayed about it, and I felt like God was like, listen to your husband. And so it eviscerated me, broke my heart, but I did. I shut down my business, I stopped doing everything. And I mean, I felt like I was a dead person. Like I felt totally dead. It was awful because maybe 2 days later, this lady called me. I have kind of a specialty in dealing with survivors of cults. Like if they've escaped from like a satanic cult or something, then I like help people like get their lives back together again. And so this lady had just escaped from a cult, and she's like, help me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I literally cannot help you. Like all of my tools I've been forbidden to use. And so that was hard. Uh well, fast forward, I was able to help her eventually. But anyway, my husband said, you need to go to the bishop and repent. Like, go confess your sins. And I was like, okay. So I went to my bishop, who was like the guy in charge of our congregation, and I told him the story, and he finally just looked at me and he said, Allie, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I don't understand what you do. I don't understand anything that you said. But the one thing I understand is the voice of the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is telling me that your job is incredibly important. You need to get back to work. You can never let anyone in the world tell you not to do this work ever again. If anybody tells you not to do this work, you need to tell them to repent. And then this was really interesting. I've never seen this done before, and this is like not a thing. But it was a thing that day. He said, I'm going to give you a bishop's blessing. And he raised his hands like this, and he issued a blessing upon me that said that as long as I would just be myself and listen to God every single day, that I would bless not just my friends and not just my family, but everybody who ever came within my vicinity, anybody that ever was exposed to me in any way, that they would be blessed because of that. Now I'll cry about it, but it was a really powerful moment. And from that day on, it was like something clicked in me, and I thought, I don't need anybody's permission. I have God's permission. Who gets more permission than that? You know, and I think both in my church and in basically all Christian churches, I think it's pretty true across all Christian churches that there's a lot of skepticism around like more spiritual type of medicine like this. But I don't know, it's between me and God. And like all of our own journeys are between ourselves and our creator, and that's it. And we all do judge each other, but like our judgments don't matter, because the only judgment that really matters is the one that we have with our own creator.
Mm-hmm. And if you believe that God lives in you, then you are doing God's work. It's really just a lot of semantics, and I find in a lot of religions, control or misunderstanding of what the Bible actually says for some people. But I love that he said that too, because what I'm hearing and what I've been on the path of too, which this feels very divine timing for me as well, of learning all sorts about like getting closer to my intuition. And every day I just lead myself with my intuition, and I'm having a lot more fun. I'm making more money. I look the best I've ever looked. Not right at this like exact moment, I look fine. But like overall, I was looking in the mirror like, you look so great. It's because you're happy and you're just living in authenticity. And it's a lot of like what you're doing as from what I'm hearing is very much like internal versus external, because we can look so much outside of ourselves, even like what you were saying with the pharmaceutical companies and people looking for a pill to fix their problems, when really it's like if you get quiet and you listen to yourself, and maybe you have a support person or a guide like you, but really what you're doing is bringing people back to themselves, and having to do the work yourself too to get there, which I'm sure is an ongoing experience.
And Allie, that's one of your foundational sessions, right? Like, what is it called? Reclaiming your power or coming back to yourself, or what do you call it?
Yeah,
I
it's called
forgot.
calling back your personal power.
Yes. And that's like, so I'll try to explain it, but you can explain it better. So there's, Allie has foundational sessions where you start there, like you start with, I think there's three foundational sessions, right?
I think
Three
there
or
might be
four?
4. Yeah.
Three or four. And so you do those first, and it's all about like, just like the, even in the first one, I was like crying. And it's unlike anything you've ever experienced. Like, can you give us a like a I don't want to put you on the spot, but like a brief example of like, because like I've done like energy work and healing and things like that, and it's not like you do it. You do it in a way that's like a visualization, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So the way that I do it, so I as I was trying to figure out how to work on multiple people at the same time, because so when I work on somebody one on one, it's like pretty crazy. A lot of times I will actually see their memories as if I were experiencing their memories, and I will like see their life as they have seen it. Or something like very specific and unique to them will show up, and I will know what it means for them. So how do you do that for 500 people at a time, right? So what I figured was the only way to do it is through symbolism. You know, we have to call in symbols that are going to be universal, archetypal, that every single person's own subconscious mind and system is going to be able to take that image or that concept and reverse engineer it to how it applies to them personally. So in my process, so those foundational sessions, what happened with those was I realized that, so the first one is called "You Deserve to Heal," and what I realized is that unless you believe that you deserve to heal, no amount of other healing work you do is ever going to stick. So what is more foundational than actually like coming to a space where you truly believe that you truly deserve to heal? So I sat down and I said, okay, number one thing, everyone who ever interacts with me, they need to believe that they're worthy of healing. So what are the symbols that I can work with that 100% of people are going to resonate with? And I literally like close my eyes and like take my deep breath and like open the gate between me and I believe God. And these images just show up into my mind, and sometimes very fast, like faster than I can write. I'm like frantically typing, frantically scribbling it down in a journal. And I don't know. And then I run with that, and I just have to trust. I mean, I think the hardest part is just trusting, because does it make sense that one symbolic story could resonate with, like, right now I think like 8,000 people have access to that session? Like, it doesn't make sense that these sets of images would resonate with all 8,000 of them.
But it feels like you're specifically talking to me.
Exactly, and everyone says that, but I am
Yeah.
specifically talking to you because I went into it saying, okay, God, I need some way that I can connect with every single person as if it's just me and them, but in a way that it's going to, be possible for 8,000 people to, hear the same thing and have it translated specifically for their own experience.
I can't wait for you to do some of her courses, Whitney. I did 3 foundational sessions. I haven't done any of the other ones because I was like, okay, I have to do these first. But then I was like also folding laundry and doing other things, which you say like you can do these while you're doing other things, but I want to go back and do them again and then like dive into the other sessions because I feel like they're so I just want to pay attention better, you know? And then you also say you can do them on behalf of other people with their permission.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I know it like sounds so crazy. So I designed all of my sessions so that you can listen to them while you're driving, folding laundry, exercising. Like, I I have moms that will like play it quietly in the playroom, while their kids are playing and stuff. But I just looked at like the world of therapy, right? And I just think it's so inconvenient. It costs a lot of money. You have to go somewhere. You have to like talk about all your feelings. And with this kind of structure, you can just have it playing in the background. Your subconscious mind gets rewired. You're having all these breakthroughs, and you also got to cook dinner at the same time. Like, I wanted it to be something that could easily fit into people's lives. But sometimes it is good to like just focus on that and like really dig in deep. So not to say you can't or shouldn't dig deep, you can and you should, but also it's okay to just have it in the background. But I also designed them so that you can do them on behalf of other people, which is really great. So, of course, permission is everything, and the people you have default permission for are your minor children or children in your legal guardianship. So if you are legally their guardian, I feel like very fine about that. But if they're like 40 and they are not, like, yes, it might be your child, but like they are 40, they can do their own healing work. Like, if they do not want to do it, then perhaps it should not be done. I do not believe in messing with anybody, you know.
We're not doing this on our skeptical husbands. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
but for real, yeah, like my husband gave me blanket permission to work on him, and so I don't use it because I'm like, you gave me that because you don't believe it helps. So I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time with that. I'll work for people that actually want the work done. But the thing is that when you heal yourself, you just healing yourself sets forth this huge domino effect that you really can't see ahead of time. And even so, like, now I've been in the midst of it for 10 years, and the dominoes are still falling. I'm still having like weirdo miracles with like extended family members that like are suddenly like getting it together, and like, people that have been consistently opposed to me in my real life are suddenly being like, oh, you're onto something. And so if you just work on you, a lot of things are going to start falling into place. But I know that sometimes it's nice to work on our kids too. So when you do a session, you do it first for yourself, and then if you have children that you are the legal guardian for, then you can just set the intention, and you're just like, I'm doing this for my child. and you just do the session again. And it sounds insane, but if you actually try it, you will see for yourself that it feels different. It feels like you're doing it for them. You're like feeling their feelings. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling my kids' feelings right now. And you are. And people do report that after they do this, their children act differently. They act better. So it can be weirdly effective. Man, and I could talk all about that, but
And I love the therapy note too, because I've been saying this a little bit in my inner circle and maybe once or twice here, but I have this unpopular opinion that was just a random unlock, kind of like you've been talking about, where I was just like done with talk therapy. Various signs were pointing me away from it because it just wasn't feeling like it was helpful. And I was telling myself, I need to get more back into my body. I need to do even more subconscious work. So I'm going to take this time back to use it differently. And like you said about the shoulders, I was that person with my shoulders up all the time. I've noticed them down. I've noticed how my confidence, even I'll put things into the universe and they're selling out now because people are just seeing me living more in alignment. And it almost doesn't matter what it is. Both of us, we're kind of on this parallel path. And I'm excited to see this type of work. Like you said, it's so inconvenient to leave your house and even get on the Zoom with my therapist. It's like, how can I help myself and how can I dip my toe in? I was muted earlier because I was adding your books to my wish list. And I love that you're able to help so many people at once. Do you have any stories top of mind that somebody's reached out and they're like, Allie, and you have permission to share, like, Allie, this is where I was and this is where I went with your work?
oh man, I have tons of those. Tons, because
Yeah.
the thing about my work, like going back to my business model, where so much of my work is like $5. Like so much of my work is free. This year I've been doing a video on YouTube every single day and it's free. And what I did for January is I just have mini sessions every day on stuff to help us get ready for the year, but I'm really excited for February of this year because we're going to work on the energy that we bring into romance. And so I just took a literal whole session and
Mm,
chopped it into 10-minute segments, and it's just already scheduled for February. Anyway, the point is to say that people find my work and they fall in love with it and they become these huge advocates because they're seeing huge shifts on without a whole ton of monetary investment, which is the best way to
mm-hmm.
make people fall in love with you in the modern age when we're dealing with the economy like it is. And I think a lot of people have been severely burned by high ticket offers that did not offer the value that they promised. I see you guys nodding. Yeah, I've been burned. I've been burned to the
Yes.
tune of like tens of thousands of dollars that wasn't worth it. And then people find these like free videos that are like extremely worth it and it just blows their mind. But yeah, one story that comes to the top of my mind is this lady who she wanted to hire me for a personal session. I said, I don't have time for that, but if you tell me your problem, I will see what kind of sessions I can recommend of the stuff I've already said. And she told me her problem, and instantly I knew what was going on with her. And I was like, okay, this is your real problem. And I just like told her what's what. And she said, oh my gosh. She said, I have lived under a cloud for my entire life. I have felt depression weighing on me for my entire life. I've gone to therapy for 30 years, and in this moment, that cloud lifted, and I do not feel depression for the first time in my life. Like 5-minute conversation on Facebook Messenger, and she feels like her entire life has been transformed, you know? But all of the sessions, probably not all of them. It's hard because I and my team like manually take the testimonials, like put them in on all the sessions. But yeah, I have tons of testimonials from pretty much all of the sessions that I do. Some of my favorite ones are from the people that are, psychiatrists and psychologists and have a lot of experience in that realm. Maybe not every month, but maybe every other month or every quarter, I will hear from a new clinical psychologist that will say, wow, I just found your work. I just did a session. This is insane. Like, it is so good. It is so legit. It incorporates all of these principles that are scientifically true and like gets the job done. I don't know. That's my real favorite thing. My cousin lives in North Dakota or South Dakota. I don't remember. The one with Mount Rushmore. She lives in that one. Anyway, she has a therapist, and she showed her therapist my website, and apparently now her therapist is recommending my work to all of her clients because it's just a shortcut. It just makes the process so much faster. May I deviate for a minute and explain the how of talk therapy?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when people understand how talk therapy works, then a lot of more things in their lives make sense. This is my understanding of why talk therapy can be effective on the times that it is, and why it is not effective so much of the time. To me, it all comes down to how the brain functions and how the brain stores trauma. And after all of these years of working with trauma and being able to actually see it, what I have concluded is that when you have a traumatic experience of any kind, your brain, it sorts it and labels it. And in order to actually fully purge the box of trauma, you have to identify every single thing on the label. Okay, so what I have found in my work is sometimes, you might see that a person is dealing with a horrible trauma from age 4. They were forced to eat every food on their dinner plate and they didn't want to. And their mom's like, the children are starving in Africa, and then they're like sitting there for like 6 hours and it's midnight and their dinner's cold and then they're forced to eat the food and it's like this horrible experience. And they keep talking about this experience. Now they're dealing with obesity, they're dealing with all these chronic health problems. Like that experience really messed with their system and they can't get over it. Like they can talk and talk and talk. And the secret is that sometimes your subconscious mind needs you to identify like a keyword associated with that. So not just that it was hard and you felt like your parents were mean and you felt anger, but you might also need to identify the sorrow or the betrayal or the abandonment. There's these like key concepts. And as soon as you identify the key concept, the whole box is gone. Your system's like, thank you for acknowledging what I really felt. We took the subconscious and made it conscious, and now it can go. And it feels like this weight just lifts off you. Your memories go from feeling traumatic to feeling absolutely neutral. You look back at them and you're like, yeah, that happened to me. And it wasn't fun and it was fine. And like now I'm a different person and I'm okay. Instead of constantly reliving this trauma. So the magic of talk therapy comes when you accidentally stumble upon the right words. When you talk and talk and talk and you hash these things to death until you find exactly what the subconscious mind needed you to make conscious. When you accidentally stumble upon that, that's when you have those huge moments in talk therapy where you're like, I made progress. But they can be far and few between because you don't know what you're looking for. You're kind of grasping at straws. You just kind of got to ask random questions and like talk and talk around the bush until you find the thing that makes it all fall apart. The nice thing about intuitive medicine and working with an intuitive healer is that that person, or like in these sessions that I designed, when I go into them, I say, okay, what are all of the things that everyone listening to this is going to need brought into their consciousness for this stuff to just fall apart and get out of their lives? And because I can see it, that makes it like really easy because it can just be like, oh, instead of spending 30 years in therapy, I can just tell you that the reason why this hasn't cleared yet is because we haven't sufficiently acknowledged your sense of horror and maybe that you absorbed some of your mother's anger at you. So you've been working on clearing out your own anger and didn't realize that you also had to clear out the anger you took on from other people, and like done. It takes 1 second and it just streamlines the process so much. I'm not against talk therapy in general. I think it can be really helpful for people. But yeah, but sometimes it's not helpful. Sometimes you beat around the bush forever and ever. You never get to the real core because the real point of therapy and healing is taking what is subconscious and making it conscious. So it can just streamline the process so much when you just go straight to the source and say, okay, what subconscious thing do I have to make conscious? And you just do it that way. So I have my sessions that I do, and then my book Mastering Your Intuition is all about clearing out your own internal blocks to trusting yourself and kind of teaching you how to do the process yourself, where you can just say, okay, what am I really feeling? Like, what really is going on under the surface in myself that if I just bring it up to the surface, then everything just works out for me.
Mm-hmm. And asking yourself those questions. I love that you start with the foundation of you deserve, because even today, I read this book of poetry and I have these weird, I think, witch wounds of men and not liking men. And I finished this book of poetry that Emily also read, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't have any more feelings about men did this, men do that. It's just, I'm neutral now and I'm nobody's victim or whatever. And it's just so funny when you take that, not funny, but it's amazing when you take that time to allow yourself to be open to a different possibility. And for so many women, it's, I'm open to being worthy of healing, and it starts there, and your foundational work is going to be so helpful for them. I have it pulled up on my computer now and I sent it to my mom. So
It's amazing.
yeah.
It's so amazing.
Let's do some rapid fires.
Yeah.
And see how rapid we can be. You don't have to be the most rapid, but they're intended to be first thing that comes to mind. And obviously, this will be something that you're an exercise that you're used to doing. So, the first question is, what are you proudest of in your business right now?
Oh my gosh. Right this minute, I am the proudest of, I'll tell you, I pulled it down when you showed me my other book. This is my latest book, Magnetic Femininity, and it's
That's the one that called to
Ooh,
me first.
I need that one.
I think it's really good. I'll tell you, I tried to write this book for 7 years, and then I finally, just this summer, I sat down and popped it out in 3 weeks. It's like pretty thick for a
Yeah,
3 week book, but I recorded that thing on audiobook myself, which was so hard. I have like so much respect for audiobook narrators now, but I just got the audio files back, and I'm really proud that I like did that. It was so hard. And now I have to figure out how to actually like put them into an audiobook and make it for sale. But I'll be proud of myself for figuring that out in a week or two.
That's awesome.
that's so cool. Tell us about a book you read or a podcast you listened to recently that changed the way you're thinking about your life or your business.
Oh man. Well, somebody just told me about this book and it kind of changed my life. I just bought it. It just arrived this morning. It's called The 12-Week Year, which I had not heard of, but apparently it's a bestseller, and it's about how you take your yearly goals and you decide how you're going to accomplish them in 12 weeks instead of 12 months. And that was really helpful to me. I feel like I kind of have lived my life a little bit like that by accident, but my house, we've been like totally redoing my house right now, and I made this list of all these things, like what are the house projects I want to accomplish by the end of the year, and I wrote them all down. And then I realized these are like 3 to 12 hour projects. Like nothing in here has to take 10 years. Like none of these things has to take a year. Like I could do them by the end of January if I just do them. So probably after I hang up with you guys, I'm going to go repaint my bathroom because it's a 3 hour job and I can just do that and just get it done. But
That's
I
awesome.
need this book.
yeah, it's a mindset changer, like you can just get the things done. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, I need to. That's one of those where it's like, I need to get it for my husband and read it to him. Like, here's a self help book. Let me read it to you. My grandparents have that cartoon on their fridge.
Oh, that's so funny.
What would your last meal be?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I've never thought of that. I don't know, maybe like steak and potatoes sounds reasonable.
Big steak. And what's
You
funny
don't have
is,
to be reasonable.
yeah,
Like,
I don't know. What's better than steak?
agreed.
right. What's the best business purchase you've made in the last 6 months under $100?
Wow, the best business purchase I've made in the past 6 months under $100. Hmm. I think I'm gonna say books, which I know is kind of like a cop out answer, but I just feel like
No, no one's ever said it.
We love books.
no one has ever said that.
No.
A book can just change your life. I'm thinking of like the 12-week year. I think I got that for $15. Like if we have a $100 budget, like man, the books I bought in the past 6 months that for under $100 that have given me new ideas and helped me like implement new things in my business. Side note, one thing I'm really passionate about is cross disciplinary learning, because the more you study things outside your field, the more you can bring it into your own field. And so one thing that I love studying business, I love reading marketing, but even like fiction can be helpful. Even I mean, my mom was a big fan of nonfiction, and so we just had tons of history books and pop science books and dense science books, and I just have loved reading all of those because you get one insight from a Freakonomics book that can just totally like revolutionize how you think about this whole other part of your business. Anyway, I'm gonna vote books, all the books that I bought for under $100.
I'm with you. More power to the books. I don't, you're the first person to ever say it. I think you will be episode 77 for us, and nobody has ever said books.
Oh my
So
god.
Yeah,
thank you.
it's
Well,
crazy.
I hope they read more after this.
Me too. What's lighting you up lately?
Oh wow. Well, having my house kind of more put together. I'll be real with you. Even though my business has been financially successful, it is in the top 9% of businesses that exist in the US. But even so, when we got married, we had absolutely nothing, and all of our furniture was from Free Cycle. And it remained from Free Cycle until last week, and I just got all new furniture. Finally, and I'm
Good for you.
hooray, I finally graduated from the Free Cycle world. Like, yay, nothing wrong with Free Cycle. And I free cycled that. And guess what? It is now blessing new couples, who have nothing. So that's great. But new furniture has made a really big difference. I am kind of surprised at how much of a difference it's made.
Yeah. And I've never heard that term. I love that term, free cycle.
Oh, it's like a thing. You can go on Facebook and search for Free Cycle, and your local area will have one, and then you just like put out the thing that you don't want anymore, and someone will come and pick it up. And
Oh, it's like buy nothing kind of.
yeah, it's like the old
Yeah.
Buy Nothing, because I just tried to find a local free cycle group and I couldn't. So I joined Buy Nothing, which has also been helpful. And that's how I got rid of all my furniture. I just put it up there, people took it away within an hour. It was perfect. I love that option where we kind of get to like save the planet and like this stuff gets out of the landfill. Someone
Yep.
who couldn't afford it gets functional furniture. Like they took it away from me. I didn't have to drive it anywhere. What a win.
Yeah.
So good.
Absolutely. Yeah, for everyone. And the last question that we added, because I read Rainn Wilson's book Soul Boom, and he asks it on his podcast, which is super cool. I
I'm
just
reading
love
it
it.
right now.
Is
I'm
it
like
so good?
79% done.
Oh, that's
I'm
so
gonna go
funny.
buy it after this.
What's one life experience everyone should have?
Wow, what is one life experience everyone should have? I don't know. I feel like having kids is so great. What can be better than like seeing your baby for the first time and like knowing that now you have this like person in your life for the rest of your life. It's so good.
I agree with you. I think kids are so great. And like again, yeah, like you have this little person, you get to teach them and mold them, and it's really really cool. Allie, thank you so much for being here today. This has been such a great conversation, and I'm so thankful that we met each other.
Me too. I just like you so much. I'm so glad that we're friends.
I know, me too. And I'm gonna go like I'm actually put this on my calendar. Like I'm gonna take time to do sessions like daily.
Yes.
Like healing time. Like put it on your calendar. This is a practical tip for everyone. Like
Yeah.
make time for it. Put it on your calendar. Like, okay, I've been listening to very like murdery audiobooks lately. Like I'm like this might be a good shift for me.
So I don't have an app right now, but what you can do is go to my website on your phone and save it as an icon on your home screen. And then it becomes
Oh,
an app on your phone, and then you're just like logged in all the time and you can just do it from your phone. But
oh,
I
that's
have
so cool.
a lot of moms listen as they drive their kids to school, captive audience, and like that's just what they do every day is like everyone has to listen. And it's really fun to hear all the moms that they think their kids aren't listening, and then later they'll find their 4-year-old like doing a little tapping script, like I'm worthy, I deserve the good things. I don't know. I just think it's
I love it.
so
I love it so much. I
I,
think one of your imageries in the foundational sessions was like, imagine you're a plastic bag, right? Or something. I'm like, I am a plastic bag. Like, Anyway, Allie, this has been amazing, amazing, amazing. I already want you in for a part 75.
Yeah,
Like, let's do
seriously.
this again.
Let's do it again. I've been thinking, I just want to tell your audience all of my tips and tricks
Oh, yes.
how to run
How can we find you?
a successful by donation business, but we'll do it a different day. Finding me, AllieDuzettClasses.com is my main website, AllieDuzett. That is it. There's no E on the end of Duzett. Everyone wants to add one. But I'm on Facebook all the time. I'm like a real person on Facebook. If you go on there and like follow me, like we can be real friends on there because I text on Facebook all day long every day. So that's the real place. And I'm on YouTube and I post a video every day and it's really fun. So come and hang out.
I do YouTube visualizations every morning, so I'll be there.
Yes. Oh, that's cool.
I hope they
I don't.
change your life.
Thank you so much, Allie. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of The Coast. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.